What I want to do in this video is just to take you through the steps that I take every year just to check the Welger AP630 baler before we start work. And it's the basic things, just make sure that the setup is okay, that the basic maintenance has been carried out. This isn't intended to look at the very detailed work of resetting knotters or anything like that. It is literally just sort of half hour just to make sure everything's in good order. So starting at the front, first thing I do is take the PTO shaft off and make sure it has got plenty of grease in that. It's really important that these tubes can move freely. Sort out the grease nipples and the like, and generally make sure that's okay. It's a heavy piece of kit, is that. Not something I enjoy doing, but it's essential that that will all move freely. The next thing is to make sure that all the hoses are clean. Make sure that they are. There's always a danger over winter that they pick up debris and what have you, but they get cleaned, put back in there, and they'll be ready later. Then I usually put a little bit of grease on there just to make sure that that's as easy as possible to work. Next thing is to just check the slip clutch at the front. So you use these tools, which is this piece of bar that comes with the baler. Just insert that, flip it over. Take that off. Then just a shot of grease on the grease nipple there. There's one in there to sort out as well. And what you're looking for, is to make sure that basically all this is tight. I tend to just rub off any rust which is on here, just to make sure that if I touch any software or these plates software, that the rust isn't going to get in the way. Nothing too intense, just make sure that that will move, and it needs to. What I really like is that if anything went in or you overloaded, what I really want to do is to see this being the first bit to start moving. You really don't want the shear bolt at the back here to go. So if you get a little bit of movement in here, that is good for me, because this is very easy to correct and keep you going. So there's another grease nipple just there, give that a shot. And that's that. So periodically I check the gear oil, and I don't think the directions are very clear as to what to do. At the top is the plug fill in it. Topping it up, that comes out easy enough. At the bottom there's a drain plug, so just make sure that's tight. But for actually checking what level it's supposed to be, you've really got to try and get in there. And you can just see it just there. I have just loosened it. So all I do is I just unscrew it by hand. Well, sorry, I have just loosened it with a spanner, but you can just gently unscrew it, and then I just check to make sure something dribbles out, and then tighten up again. I don't think the book's very clear as to where that actually is. So it's one of those items that I tend to I check every year, and we don't do that many bales, so I don't have to change it that often, but periodically I just drop the oil out and refill. Whilst I've got the panel off, I'll just show you where the shear bolt is. That's over there, that's where you'd find it. I've never had to replace it, and I keep plenty of shear bolts just in case, but I really try hard not to have to do these things. That's where you'd find it. Whilst I'm down here, I just tend to check everything else. Make sure every hose is okay, it's not damaged, no signs of any slack movement. The plunger on this one's not going to be a problem, but just give it a shake and make sure everything's okay. Then we'll get round to the clever end, and first thing to do is to make sure that that is across there to stop it accidentally tripping. Whenever you're working at the back end of a baler like this, you really need that engaged. Thing is not to forget to unlock it when you make a start. Next thing is the grease point just there. That's for the needles. There is also a shear bolt just in there should it all go wrong. So put a bit of grease on there, and then around the back another grease nipple just in there, so give both of those a shot. The knotters themselves, as you can see, I've left a part of a bale in this year and the strings in. I kind of feel that when everything's working, just leave alone. You can clearly see that the strings are in the right place. These, just make sure there's no serious rust on them. There's no little bits of twine hanging about, so it's all looking good, so you kind of feel you want to leave it alone. But if you need to, sometimes what I have done is actually I've loosened off the knotters altogether at end of the season and started again. So if you imagine that there's the lock nut just there, that was undone. Unscrew these bolts, same that side. When you're tensioning, what you want is for the underside of the bolt there to be in line with the top of that measurement there. So you bring that in to that point, then you start and screw that bolt back in until it touches the plate there, just literally just touches. Then in a quite disciplined kind of way, you need to tighten that bolt by a set number of turns. And what the book says is with the twine in, the twine holder, you give it 4.5 full turns. Without the twine in the twine holder, it's 3.5 full turns. Not sure if that totally ties up with the little picture there, but it sort of guides you through. And I think if you're quite disciplined about doing that, you're 3 parts of the way there regarding the knotters. So that's as far as I would go at this stage. You know, you're just checking that there's no issues with springs, that everything's connected that should be connected. Another spring down there looks okay. Because this is relatively new, I'm not looking to sharpen the knives that cut the string, so just leave it as it is. See, equally with the brake, it's all working fine. There's no sign of any distress. Everything looks as if it's set up properly, and so I just leave it at that. When it comes to the bale counter, I don't even reset that. I just keep it running. Just take a picture on the telephone as to what the number is before I start each time. This year I fitted a Ritchie bale sledge bracket. We've got a new bale sledge. Slightly different to the older ones, but basically that's just fitted by attaching it through these 4 bolts. The instructions don't quite work in that it tells you how high it should be and where you should sort of position it, and with these elements here you can't get the bracket to the right point and the right height, so it's as high as it'll go, and that has to be the sort of compromise on it. I think the difference which I quite like is that now you've got this bracket that'll swing across so that you can fix it for transport mode or bring it back for work mode. That wasn't the case on the old. It used to have to sort of unhitch totally from one, move across to the other. So that's good. So hopefully, although this isn't exactly at the right height, I'm reasonably confident it will still work. Then while I'm here, what I tend to do for actual operation is to wind the pressure plates in at the side, and so that both are equal. Same when the first bale or two go through, wind these down, give us the top pressure, and then just when you're adjusting after that, adjust them both the same, try and keep it balanced. And so that's really all I need to do at this end. Then I think the other thing is, with the tension of the twine coming through, I think the book gives you a distance for these springs here, so I work reasonably rigidly to that, just to try and keep these correct. Then twine, I always carry plenty of twine. Again, there's a drawing which tells you exactly what route to take, so you're in the least risk of it getting snagged. And then, so I follow the instructions regarding how to tie it together, because if you do that, you've got a reasonable chance of the knots not coming apart. So I'm just going to transfer another ball from down there to the top. That should give us plenty. So I think that covers everything at the back. The only thing, one of the things I do is I actually mark on there which direction to move the wheel to lengthen or shorten the bale. So I just don't want to be faffing about getting the book out, and I am of an age where remembering these things becomes increasingly tricky. So that's all I do, just click on there and adjust that accordingly. I think that's covered the adjustments that you want at this end, and so I think all there is left now is just to grease the cross packers at the top there. So this is the view from the top, and there's a couple of grease nipples. There's one just down there to do. I think there's one on the other side as well for the Crossfeed. Whilst I'm here, I'm just going to mention that this, one of the previous videos I mentioned about sometimes the bales were not coming through, but they're coming through a bit banana shaped, particularly with a light crop that I was just struggling with a little bit. And somebody who watched the video sort of pointed out that there is adjustment, which is this one here. It's got 3 positions there where you can just pull that out, take the pin out and just move it across, and that will push more or less hair into one side of this, or this side of the chamber. So at the moment I've got it set in the middle. I'm getting all sorts of different results which make me think that sometimes I might end up sort of queuing it sometimes and creating problems another time. So I'm going to stick with it at the moment, but I think on a Welger 730 that I had, I did end up moving it across, can't remember which way it went, and it did seem to improve it. But I try to work on the basis of if you shove the right volume of hair through the pickup in the middle fast enough without being too fast, and the whole thing should work its way through if everything's balanced, but it doesn't always work that way. So that's all I need to do. Drop a grease on there. I also just go through and anything which looks like it's got bearing surfaces, give it a drop of oil. So I'm going to leave it at that. So I think that's about it. It's that's it all set up. We should be good to go. Don't think there's any further adjustments I would make beforehand. It really is just a case of when you get going, you're just going to check pressures and try and make sure the bale is as you want it, depending on the crop quality of the crop. So I hope you enjoyed that video. It's really useful to get people's feedback. I tend to do these not so much for everybody else's benefit, but partly for mine, because people do feedback things they think is not quite right, and I think the more that we share experiences, the better. So don't hesitate if you think I'm doing something really wrong. Always read the manual, read the book. Don't take what I've just said, but this is the sort of checks that I carry out. It just takes half an hour before we start, and if that's what it takes to try and give a bit more reliability, then great. So once again, thank you for watching. If you think you're getting any benefit out of these videos, I'd really appreciate it if you just click the like, and it helps a lot if you feel able to subscribe as well. So thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one.